Despite the long history of maritime law, there are certain issues that have not been covered, or there is no decisions on a certain subject. In those instances, we have a gap in maritime law. And state law may fill those gaps, provided it does not conflict with maritime law. Typically, when you have a dispute or an accident on shore, that'll be governed by state law. If you're a car accident in Nevada, you may have a very different outcome, different elements, different damages than what happens when you have a car accident in, say, Nebraska. So maritime law seeks to avoid these differences, something called the uniformity principle. The idea is that maritime commerce is interstate commerce. It does best when you have uniform laws applying. The same laws should apply when a vessel docks in Miami as it does in Seattle. And so this uniformity principle is rooted in the Constitution. There's a clause in Article 3 that states that the judicial powers shall apply to all matters maritime. And the courts have interpreted this to mean that the maritime law may preempt state laws. Preemption means that maritime law will supersede a conflicting state law. Now, in our maritime cases, we generally have maritime law supplying the law of decision, whether we're in state court or in a federal court. And sometimes there will be multiple claims, some maritime and some state. The state claims will be preempted by maritime law if they conflict. There is something called the maritime but local doctrine. Now, if we have an issue that is sufficiently local and it does not conflict with well-established maritime law, there are occasions where state law may fill the gaps in maritime law. That is, provide an issue where there is no clear maritime rule of law. Sometimes we have applied this in the case of releases. Now, this is in a maritime recreational context where I believe it was a jetboat, for example, they have the passengers sign a contract that says, if you get hurt, you waive all of your rights to proceed against us. Now, in that instance, Oregon had favorable law to the passengers, and since there was no well-established maritime rule on the subject, the judge applied Oregon law, which discarded the waiver, and the case was allowed to proceed. Another example where sometimes state law could come into play is for a non-seafarer's wrongful death claim. Here, the general maritime law wrongful death cause of action provides certain damages, and state wrongful death statutes may provide additional damages so long as it does not conflict with well-established maritime law. In essence, it may complement, but it may not conflict.